Hello and welcome to the Cold Hard Truth Podcast. I'm Shrikar Rajendran.
I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Anish Gupta.
Timestamps will be in the description, so you can skip to what you want to hear. Let's get right into it. New Orleans police were granted an arrest warrant for OBJ over an accusation of simple battery after he slapped the buttocks of a Superdome security guard following LSU's national championship victory over Clemson. A police spokesperson told Ramon Antonio Vargas and Carly Wells of NOLA.com that police sought charges after video surfaced of the incident on social media. And in the video, Beckham is shown slapping the guard and saying, "Get the gat," repeatedly. While Vargas and Wells reported the victim was a New Orleans police officer, Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, he reported that he's a Superdome security guard. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
It's just that, coupled up with the fact that he was caught handing out money to LSU players. What are you doing? Why would you do this? There's no point to any of this. I know you're hyped because LSU just won a national championship, but there's no reason to go slapping police officers and handing out money. It's just kind of a stupid mistake.
I think agree there. Like, what do you? I mean, I get it. Your team won, but I mean, I think it's taking it to the extremes there.
And police think it's fake. It's fake cash, but fake or real cash. This looks like a big attention grab for Odell, and it's just a stupid move, especially when you're in the NFL. You're a professional. You got to be a role model. It's just not. It doesn't work out.
And again, I think just from a football standpoint, like the Browns already have too much dysfunction on their hands. Last thing you want to do is add more to that. I think, but to be fair, I believe this was before the hiring of Stefanski. So I think maybe he's gonna discipline him because he said something famous in his interview. He said I welcome personality, but your production is required.
I have no idea. Is it after Stefanski?
I believe so because Stefanski was hired, I believe, last Saturday, and this was I think it was really around the time.
Same day.
Yeah, around the same time. But I think from a football standpoint, I mean, what kind of dysfunction are you trying to bring to this team that already had so much, right? With Garrett's helmet hit, right? All these different late hits during these games, and now you're adding it to there. I mean, it's not worth it.
What's crazy is that this was in college, and it's kind of translating over to the NFL and how he's going to act there too. So
I don't think it's like that. I think it was just like a bonehead kind of move. But we were seeing a pattern of these boneheaded moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the hitting the helmet
exactly,
on
that's what I meant,
what do you call it? The goalie thing, right? Or the kicker's net, right?
Yeah.
Hitting it's just these bonehead moves that make you cause for wonder. How can these receivers be role models for people like Antonio Brown, right? And Odell. I mean, you're just seeing this pattern between these two. Obviously, one is taking it to the extreme, but I mean, it's just some boneheaded mistakes here. But I mean, we'll see how they come back.
Yeah, and simple battery can carry up to 6 months in jail and a fine of $1,000. So it'll be interesting to see what his punishment will be. I think he'll get off the hook. To be honest, I don't think they're gonna be.
I think he'll probably get more discipline from the Browns than he will.
Maybe a fine, but what I'm saying is there are these suspensions for one games. I don't know if you guys remember this. This was 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Gronk blatantly elbowed Tre'Davious White in the head and concussed him, right? I think you remember that. But that was one game.
But that happened in the NFL, which is why I think
I get that, but you gotta consider it, right? If you're the NFL, how disciplined do you want to be to these type? Because then players are going to be afraid to kind of express themselves and build the NFL up as a brand, right? Because they're afraid of messing up.
Yeah, but this isn't how you should be expressing yourself.
I get that. But I think obviously him and Jarvis at the game, that's good for the NFL, right? Good for their brand. But Odell just took it a bit too far. Jarvis didn't do anything wrong, right? He was there having a great time. So were other NFL players. I think Jeremy Hill was there as well. But Odell just took it a bit too far. But I think having these stunts, it does ruin the NFL's kind of image, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and OBJ got famous for his catch and famous for having a great rookie year. But nothing he got famous for is just some of the mistakes he made. He's just a polarizing player to watch because you wonder how someone can think, this is a good idea to go out and do. Let's go slap a police officer and hand out money to LSU players. It's this is what he got famous for, and this is why people follow him around, is because he's good media, and he does things that people get upset about. But this is going to be a lot, I think, for Stefanski. This Browns team, he's going to have to turn around the ship a lot.
But I think he has already. He hired Bill Callahan as his offensive line coach. He was the former coach of the Redskins while Jay Gruden was fired. I think he's great for the O-line.
Jay Gruden went to Jacksonville to be their offensive
Yeah.
coordinator.
So and then he's hiring, and then Niners DB coach Joe Woods.
Joe Woods is
He's
going
to be their defensive coordinator. I love that hire. Because,
Yeah, the staff isn't looking that bad.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
even Stefanski's not that
But
bad.
no, I don't think the problem is with the staff. I think the problem is getting a hold of the players.
But I think
also-
that's. But he's hiring older guys,
Yeah.
more experience, and that's because Freddie was just a young kid. Like not even. I mean, he was a big kid too. Like, but he just didn't know what he was doing. Like, what are you doing? You know, going in there and starting off soft. You have to like go in with disciplinary action. You know, go in there, play hardball, right? Not start off soft and then go hardball, right? At the end of the year, right? I think we were seeing that against the Cardinals and the Ravens. You know, he was saying a little bit tougher. But if you don't start that way, players are just gonna think you're like, what are you doing? They're gonna like look at you with disdain. But I think Stefanski is bringing these guys in because all of them have experience. And they all have one goal, which is obviously to win a championship. So they're going to make sure that these players have that same goal and have that same mindset.
And I think the hardest part about getting the Browns back is that they already have a losing culture in place. Getting over that hump is going to be the hardest job for Stefanski and his staff.
But I think all of those coaches have a winning culture in their resume. So I think that helps. But yeah, I think it's just time for those players to get up to it. And quick note on OBJ, he just had surgery yesterday. It was a core muscle injury. Or that's what doctors called it. It wasn't technically a sports hernia. Doctors are trying to eliminate that term because it's too broad. But yeah, he just had a core muscle surgery. He's going to be fine. I think it's 6 to 8 weeks for recovering. So yeah, he'll be fine by the time the season. And Jarvis does not need hip surgery. He'll play in the Pro Bowl.
Let's move on here. The 2019 regular season was the year of Lamar Jackson. And just as in 2018, he took the NFL by storm. He set the single-season NFL rushing record for a quarterback, and he became the first player at his position to throw for 3,000 yards and run for 1,000 in the same year. He went 14-2, AFC's number one seed. And I think the postseason has been all about Tennessee. You know, America loves an underdog, and after beating both New England and Baltimore on the road to reach the AFC Championship game, the Titans were the darlings of fans, you know, far and wide. Well, Jackson will watch the Super Bowl on television, so will the Titans after they fell 35-24 to the Chiefs on Sunday at Arrowhead. The win sends the Chiefs to the Super Bowl for the first time in a half-century, and it hammered home a fact that in retrospect, we all should have known. Jackson may be the MVP this season, but Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the game.
I think I literally was saying this for the last 5 weeks that watch out for Patrick. But that being said, I still can't say he's no. I still can't.
Who do you think?
Look, I can't say it until I was debating this with a friend. I can't say he's the best overall. Regular season, I will give it to him, no question. And even the playoffs he's showing out, but the thing is, I haven't seen him win the big game. And when I look at my quarterback list...
We're just talking about this season. We're just talking about...
No, I get that, but if you're saying
it's not about a legacy thing.
But the title best quarterback in the NFL, it's not even about legacy. It's
now.
But this is how I base it. Let me finish. This is how I base it. If I could have the quarterback for one game right now, who would I take? And I would still take Russell Wilson and Drew Brees over him right now.
Drew Brees has lost to the Vikings.
No,
yeah.
I get that. That's fine. But one game shouldn't change your entire opinion on someone.
Well, Mahomes has only played 2 seasons, and you're basing it off the fact he hasn't played that one game.
No, but see, I get. That's why I'm saying I've never said he can't be, and I never said he won't be. I'm just saying right now, as of what is it, Jan 22nd, before the Super Bowl, if he wins it, no question. I will consider Mahomes the best for the next few years.
Let's look at some stats, okay? It's not even fair. By game's end, Mahomes had completed 23 of 35 passes.
I'm not denying that.
294 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had a passer rating
He has
of
11
120.4.
touchdowns, no picks in the playoffs. I'm not denying that.
He also added 53 yards and that highlight reel score on the ground against a Titans defense that held Lamar Jackson in check a week ago. How can you say he's not the best quarterback in the game right now?
Okay. What if Mahomes looks terrible against this Niner defense, okay? Because who's a better defense, Niners or the Titans?
I'll go ahead and
Niners,
blame it
by
on the
far.
Madden curse.
Who has a better... I didn't even bring that up, but who has a better defense, Niners or the Titans?
Niners.
Who has a better defense, Niners or the Texans? Niners by a mile, right? So Mahomes really... And throughout the season, he hasn't played a good defense. That's my point. Okay.
Well, Titans are not a bad defense.
No, they're
not.
They're not. But they were only rushing 3, which is the stupidest thing. I think that was the one thing Mike Vrabel messed up that game. like when we recap it, I think I was just gonna say, like, I got a lot of LSU Clemson kind of vibes from that game because it was 17-7, right? You know, underdog kind of had it, and then just the greatness of Mahomes just overtook everything, much like Joe Burrow in that game, and the Chiefs were able to pull out. But my point is, he has all these stats, but what if he does terrible? What if he throws like 2 picks, no touchdowns, maybe 200 yards, right? Are you going to start having some questions? I'm like, great. He's a great regular season quarterback. And even in the playoffs, he's shown out. But my thing is, I need to see him win one because that's where the stage matters. That stage built up Tom Brady, right, in the first few years of his career. And that stage is something Dan Marino could never build his career on. So it's just so big in the NFL. It's so big, like, especially for quarterbacks. Like running backs, it doesn't matter. Obviously, yards and all these stats you brought up, these advanced stats, that matters for running backs, receivers, tight ends, DBs, all these different positions. But for quarterbacks, it's the accolades, it's the wins, and Mahomes has that. But like I said, he's still too young, also. Right? Like, we were seeing this too, like, I mean, I know RG3 was only for like 1 year, but we've seen these young phenoms that we just hop on, like Vince Young, right? We just hop on and we're like, oh, these guys are so great. And then, obviously it comes back down to earth. But I think Mahomes is a different breed, though. Like, I was saying it all year.
Can you agree with me? Can you agree with me when we say he's the best arm talent in the NFL?
Yeah, no,
okay.
See, I agree with
He's one of the best arm talents of all time.
Of all time,
okay,
yeah. I think he has a better arm than Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers combined. And who's been saying this entire year that Mahomes should be on the lookout for MVP again? Both of us have, me and Jack. But that being said, the title of best quarterback in the NFL, that's something that, like, you've got to earn with a Super Bowl.
So last episode we talked about Lamar Jackson and whether his season
had
gone to waste.
No,
I know. I'm saying like that whether we should take him seriously now that he's been embarrassed in 2 playoff games. I think both of you said that he still has time and that like you weren't going to discount what he did this year.
Yeah, Lamar and Mahomes aren't even close to the primes of their careers.
But we weren't asking was he the best quarterback in the NFL? And I don't know if we mentioned that, but I specifically said no, and I wouldn't even put him in my top 3 right now. Maybe even top 4.
Lamar? Yeah, I wouldn't put him in my top 3.
But I still think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL because I know he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but he did as much as he could last year against the Patriots to make it to the Super Bowl. Put on a great offensive performance and just didn't touch the ball in overtime. Nothing he can control about the coin toss. And then this year, he's already come back down from the Texans. He has rallied back from an injury this year. He beat the team that everyone was riding in the Titans.
And he had a few drops. Like, he had to overcome some drops, too. His receivers had to overcome some.
I'm saying he's done about as much as he can in 2 seasons to make it to the Super Bowl, but he's only had 1 year to do it. Yeah. And that 1 year, he just didn't get a chance to touch the ball in overtime, and this year he's already in the Super Bowl. So I don't know how.
And then one more, I don't know how you guys didn't mention this. He has a lot of playmakers, but the thing is, all good quarterbacks have playmakers, and I'm not using that against him. I'm just saying he's had a lot of playmakers, and he's made a lot of them good.
And he has one of the best offensive minds in the game in Andy Reid.
And offensive lines in the game.
And he has one of the best offensive coordinators in the league in Eric Bieniemy. Them calling the shots, that doesn't hurt him either. So
yeah, he has a really good supporting cast. Not on defense, obviously, but Tyrann Mathieu has helped out a lot for that team. Chris Jones has come into his own, and Frank Clark. I think that trade was great for them, replacing Dee Ford. And their secondaries has played better. Like, it really has. I mean, I think, but I just don't know. Like, when I think about this game, Niners Chiefs, right? I'm thinking about Mahomes finally playing like a really top tier defense, and I would not be shocked again if he throws like 350 and 4 touchdowns or something like that. And people are calling this the greatest postseason run by a quarterback ever. Pro Football Focus ranked this, I think, is number 2 right now, right behind Aaron Rodgers, the 4-game stint as the 6th seed when he won the Super Bowl. But I mean, I think that's a bit far because obviously he's only played 2 games, But it's not out of the question if he wins the Super Bowl because he has played through a lot of adversity through the championship game and the divisional round. And obviously in the Super Bowl, maybe if he pulls off some kind of comeback or, leads him like 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, I wouldn't be surprised if people consider it. And if he wins the Super Bowl, I will never doubt Patrick Mahomes ever again. But that Super Bowl is just so important, right? Because like Phillip Rivers in 2000, I think I brought this up before. Like he was 25? And he was on the cusp of a Super Bowl. Everyone thought, oh, he'll just get it sometime. He hasn't made it back since. So,
and I know PFF is grading this as a really great Super Bowl run, but there's a lot of things that PFF can't grade, like his leadership, bringing them back down from a deficit, making other players around him better, coming through adversity, all that kind of stuff. And I guarantee you he's battling still some sort of lingering injury issue from the ankle. And so it just all that coming over adversity is something I think you can't measure by
I
stats,
get that.
but it's what makes Mahomes, I think, my number one quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I think. I mean, he was mic'd up, right? He was like, "Oh, come on, guys, be great, be great." I don't know if you guys saw that video, like, of the Chiefs coming back. That was amazing to watch. Like, obviously, what he did. I mean, 7 straight touchdown drives. That in the NFL, that just doesn't happen. That doesn't even happen in college. Like, he's bringing a whole new level to this game. That's way more important than Lamar Jackson's, in my opinion, because it's showing that quarterbacks can do both. But he's throwing at such an elite level, right? That like. Lamar hasn't gotten there yet, but I feel like he can because he's shown improvement. But I think, Patrick Mahomes in terms of like regular season or, young quarterbacks, not even close. I don't even think Lamar Jackson is close. But the title of best quarterback in the NFL, I can't give it to him until after February 2nd if he pulls that trophy.
All right, let's get into Patrick Mahomes' opponent on Super Bowl Sunday. If you want to know who the 49ers truly are, look no further than George Kittle. On explosive Niners run after explosive Niners run Sunday, Kittle drove Packers defenders back 2 yards, 3 yards from the play. He buried dudes, play after play after play, and Niners offensive line too, they absolutely brutalized the Packers. This is what the Niners truly are, and they're a problem. They can score tons of points, they're fast, Kittle can score on any play, but their game is grit. They can pass and they can sprint, but their nature is nastiness.
I think, like they're one of those teams, again, like the teams that translate best in the NFL, running the ball and playing defense. That's literally how the Titans beat the Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens. They're literally doing the same formula, but better. And they just have an elite asset of running back, right? Raheem Mostert, I mean, he was cut by 6 teams, and look what the Niners turned him into. One of the, best playoff performances in NFL history, right? Same thing with Tevin Coleman, just 2 weeks ago, right? Against the Vikings. I think it's, for the 49ers, it's just, George Kittle, I think the best part about their team is they know their roles. Every analyst I watched before the Niners Packers game everyone was like, "Oh, George Kittle has to be an X factor again. He has to get 120 yards and a touchdown like he did in Week 12 of last season in Sunday Night Football." Everyone was like, "Oh, he has to get the ball. He has to get the ball this time." He didn't get the ball. I think he got 1 catch. But his blocking is just so essential, and also the receivers, right? Like Emmanuel Sanders, Debo, and Kendrick Bourne, they were all blocking for Raheem Mostert, right? I think you guys saw that block.
Yeah.
It wasn't even, and I think Jimmy threw the ball 8 times, right, for 77 yards. Half of them went to Debo, right? But it doesn't even matter, about the passing game. And it was so crazy because the Packers knew they were going to run the ball, but they couldn't stop. They literally couldn't stop.
I think Debo was the one who caught that block on the 4th touchdown, right?
Yeah, that was. I mean, it's just the way they coach their players. It's know your role, right? You don't have to show up you don't have to be the hero, right? One person can take the hero spotlight each game. We've seen it throughout the Niners season, right? One game it was Matt Breida against the Browns, right? And then another time, again, Raheem Mostert against the Packers, George Kittle against the Saints, right? It's Debo against the Cardinals, right? Emmanuel Sanders against the Cardinals again. Each player has their little shining moment, right? And I think against the Chiefs, it's probably going to be by someone we don't even know. Who knows? I feel like it's going to be one person that just takes off.
Kendrick Bourne has 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, or
maybe we'll see. Listen. Tell me about it though. Can you? It's so unpredictable with this team. You really don't know who's going to go off that one day, and I think that's how they've built this team, right? Through again running the ball, playing defense, being tough, physical football, and that's how they've been able to win these games.
They were coached right, and I guarantee you, they do know their roles. They're a team that, on offense, does not have a ton of talent. I mean, they have Jimmy, a backup to Tom Brady for multiple years. Mostert, you already said, got cut by 6 teams. Second-round pick at receiver, and Debo, a third-round, or a third receiver that no one's really heard about before. There's your Kendrick Bourne, not a big name. Yep. Kittle came out of nowhere after being a 4th, 5th-round selection. Yep. And an offensive line that's kind of been patchwork this year, but they all love to play football. They all love to help each other win, and they've been coached right. And on defense, they got a lot of talent, especially on the D-line. Yeah, but a lot of guys
I think it just accumulated together, right? Those first-round picks finally started.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the collection of, they know their roles, right? I think we can all agree on that. And I think the 49ers O-line needs some love. No one's been giving
sure.
No one's been talking. I mean, everyone's talking about Mostert did all this, all the receivers. I mean,
Staley got hurt and McGlinchey got hurt, and people were like, the Niners O-line's going to be,
But they still ran the ball insanely. They should be, I think in my opinion, they are top 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe even the
and
best.
I'll go top 3.
I think they're better than the Ravens and Saints. In my opinion.
Not the Ravens.
The
Ravens O-line is
not the Ravens.
I think. Well, think about it this way: Yonda's going to retire. He said he wanted to retire.
Oh, then maybe next year.
Next year, coming into next year, especially if
I'm talking about this year.
Especially if they get a draft pick
top
at the end of the
1st
round.
Yeah,
Yeah, Raheem Mostert will get many of the headlines, as he should. He rushed for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. 220, second most ever in a playoff game, and he had 4 touchdowns, most ever in an NFC title game, and tied for second most in playoff history. But as excellent as he was, he's not the story. The story from this game is the physicality of this Niners team. It's one of the nastiest, most bruising, harshest, most powerful teams we've basically seen in Super Bowl history on both sides of the football.
I think Jamal Adams said it best. Like, it's a DB's dream to have that D-line because they give the secondary so much time to, get in their place, get the right coverage, disguise it, because they can rush 4 and still get so much pressure. Like, they literally, because they're so fast off the edge, because they have 2 young edge rushers, right?
Yep.
So they can get off fast the edge. And I think come Super Bowl time, Mitchell Schwartz, who's been one of the best right tackles for the last 10 years, he's going to have a problem with Bosa and D Ford and all these young guys who can just quick finesse and boom, they can get to the quarterback just like that.
Yeah. I think even the rotational D linemen have seen what Bosa, Ford, and Armstead are doing, and now they've turned their motors up to 11. I mean, they're all going very hard because that's just the culture in San Francisco right now.
Yep.
They can rotate in and out all these defensive players or offensive players, and they're all going to go hard and give it their 100%. And when you have a team that's putting in full effort, they're all talented. Everyone in the NFL has talent. It's just sometimes the motor and the drive to get there, and especially getting to the quarterback, they all have it right now.
I think the biggest thing also is, like, they're not even that experienced. Like, they're so young, right? I mean, maybe you could say Jimmy, but he was a backup when they were winning these games. And Kyle Shanahan, with the Super Bowl again, 28-3, and then he was the offensive coordinator. It's just not the same. But, like, they're not that experienced, and they just beat Aaron Rodgers, who's, been to 4 NFC championships now, right? They beat the Vikings, who have, kind of like that winning history because they keep their coaches and all that. And it's, because I always use experience as a reason to doubt teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially in the playoffs. I think we all have once or twice before, right? But I mean, like, damn, I just have to say it. Like, they literally have so many young guys, and they were still able to pull out the victory.
Let's move on here. Although it's a harsh description, the bust label, it's often thrown around prematurely. For a multitude of reasons, some prospects just don't live up to their expectations. And while it's too early to definitively categorize a prospect as a bust, there are some indicators before a team drafts a player with high hopes placed on his shoulders from day one. We'll list 3 players, we said, and provide the warning signs based on collegiate production and skill set. And in all cases, these prospects have been rated or mocked in spots that are potentially, a round or two too early. Who wants to start?
I'll start with one that I don't think very many people are going to agree with just because he's such a polarizing talent. But I'm going to go with Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama. I think that he's got such a great supporting cast of weapons at Bama his entire time there. He's had a great offensive line. He's had Nick Saban as his coach. And so all of that make me kind of wonder about his college progression, like how well would he do at other schools. But also, this injury is really bad. I think people are kind of underestimating how much this injury is going to take to get over. But also, as a lefty quarterback, don't tend to work out super often in the NFL. I think he might get drafted pretty early. He'll have to sit back a year and learn. And I just don't know how well that's going to work out for him because this is going to be one of his first times ever not starting for a team. And I don't know. I have a feeling that some team is going to draft him too early, maybe the Dolphins at 4, and I don't think he's going to work out as well as they think he is. He might still be a serviceable quarterback, but I don't know if he's going to ever reach that top tier of quarterbacks in the league and be worth of a first round, like an early first round pick.
I'm going to go with a different quarterback. I'm going to say Jalen Hurts. And he may be in demand thanks to Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray. Both showed promising signs this season, the former more than the latter. And in a copycat league, teams will likely look for the next Jackson. They'll look for the next Kyler Murray, even if that player is a day 2 prospect. So I think we got to look at his collegiate production a little bit. In his last 4 games, Hurts recorded 4 touchdown passes and 3 incompletions. He completed fewer than 53% of his attempts in 2 of those outings. And even in his highlight plays, he'd go shorter passes to CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb would get all the yards, as opposed to deep throws through tight windows. I'm going to guess Hurts is going to run like a 4.4 at the combine, 4.5 maybe. But I think his low passing volume, and he gives away the ball a lot, I think that's what's going to kill him. And that's going to raise legitimate concerns.
I think I just wanted to respond to the Tua point. Okay, so in the Alabama quarterbacks of the last, few years, right, who would you take, Tua or A.J. McCarron?
I'd probably say Tua, but again, that's another reason that Alabama quarterbacks tend to not work out.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with, that's why I'm a little skeptical as well. Also the hip injury, because, injured quarterbacks that have an injury history, usually it tends to continue in the NFL.
And an injury like that, it was brutal.
But I think, just keep in mind, also, the last left-handed touchdown pass was from Dez Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I don't know, that was just crazy to me. I saw it like a few days ago. But I think with Tua, it's just he is a polarizing talent though, right? Like I think he is, but I think the left-handed quarterbacks it's weird, but like also it can cause for trickery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like offensive coordinators would love to have this kind of unique system where instead of rolling out right and then rolling out, maybe do it the other way, like maybe make a new system. So I think Tua is a good experiment, but I can see what you're saying, like this hip injury history, it's a big injury, like, and I think it's gonna be hard to recover from, but I think in regards to Tua's talent, and I think how he can be coached, like even if he goes to Miami, I think Brian Flores is a great coach. So I mean, and there are a lot of coaches out there that can really help him right now. And to be honest, in the NFL, right, out of all 32 teams, I really don't see that bad of like a head coaching position right now. Like everything, I feel like every team is kind of filled out, kind of found their guy. But obviously, there's some that are...
Couple teams on the bubble.
Yeah, a couple of them, like the Giants, for example.
And the Jets.
But, yeah, and I mean, again, Adam Gase, we have different opinions on him. I still like him, even though you don't. But I think it doesn't... I think Tua will find a home, and I think you're right in regards to there's some cause for concern, but I don't want to say he has the biggest chance to be a bust.
I'm not saying he has the biggest chance, but I think that of all of the most polarizing talent, I feel like he's a name that we should look at as a bust candidate. Plus, also, he's gonna have to sit behind someone for a year, and all these teams he's gonna go to.
He might start though, like for Miami.
It'll be a miracle. I think if he can start. Maybe he'll start mid-season.
I think they put Rosen in and maybe.
But here's the problem. Yeah, but if he is in,
they would start him under Fitzpatrick most.
If he is in Miami. I mean, is he the kind of quarterback that's going to gain something learning from Ryan Fitzpatrick, someone who's going to be doing something completely different?
He can learn from Brian Flores, though.
I know that, but I'm saying learning from a quarterback. Like, Sam Darnold was able to learn from Josh McCown. All these people, like, they go and they learn. Like, Lamar under...
McCown and Fitzpatrick. I think Fitzpatrick
Lamar under Flacco. But here's the thing. I don't think Tua will learn a whole lot from Fitzpatrick because they're completely different quarterbacks. The league, the field's going to look completely different to them.
I get that. That's why I think it's like, maybe give it a year so offensive coordinators can develop this kind of system, right? Like they can use some film from practice and be like, okay, maybe we'll try this out, try how this works. And then the following year they can really execute that plan. And, Tua can come in like a Patrick Mahomes with this whole new different play style, right? Like think about it. Alex Smith had a completely different playbook than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, similar to
I'm not saying there's no chance that he's good. I think there is a chance he's good, but I think that it's just I haven't heard very many people talking about how he might not work out, and I think there's a very real possibility he doesn't.
Yeah, and I think another quarterback I had was as a potential bust candidate was Jacob Eason.
Yeah.
His growth seems a bit fragmented. He started as a freshman at Georgia, suffered a knee injury. He lost his starting job to Jake Fromm, transferred to Washington, started one season for the Pac-12 program before going pro. As a result, I don't think you're going to see major growth or consistency in Eason's game from his 2016 term at Georgia to 2019 at Washington. As well, his passing numbers don't really jump out at me.
Mm-hmm. I kind of agree with you there because, like, Pac-12 defenses aren't that good, just in general. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're, like, I don't think they have, like, them in the Big 12, I think, Jack, you can agree with that. Their defenses are just not as good as, like, Big 10.
Pac-12 and Big 12 defenses are still pretty far apart. Pac-12 has some good defenses.
They do,
Utah, Oregon, teams can turn it on for a game. Cal has a good defense.
But Eason didn't look good against those guys.
I know, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah, so he hasn't, but, like, and again, showing up against, like, bad Pac-12 teams that, just haven't made that much of an impact in the CFB, it's just, like, I just don't see him translating his game into the NFL level much like Shrieker.
Well, I don't think Jake Fromm is a great quarterback prospect in general, and the fact that Eason lost his job to Fromm is a little alarming to me. Yeah. And going to Washington, he's got the big arm. No one can deny that.
Well,
but the problem
Joe Burrow lost his job to Dwayne Haskins, and now we're seeing what he's doing.
Yeah, I know, but Dwayne Haskins is good. Dwayne Haskins was a 6th overall pick.
Yeah.
Jake Fromm's not that. And I think that, Eason's got the arm talent, we know that, but I just don't know what he can do with it, and he's going to be a project. He's not very refined, and so a team drafting him with a late first round, early second round pick would be a big reach to me. And I think maybe you can grow him to be maybe a Drew Lock-ish talent in the first couple of years, but I don't know.
Hey, just quick point for Jalen Hurts though. I think Pittsburgh would be a great fit.
Yeah.
I think there were some rumors going on too. Like I think Pittsburgh's a great
or
fit.
Chicago.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh would be a bit better just because he can learn under Big Ben, and then also he has Tomlin. But yeah, I think Chicago's not a bad fit either.
But still, I think for me it's just about trust because if you look in the second half of his year, he faded down the stretch.
Yeah, he
so.
definitely did.
I I think tight end is one of the weaker positions in the draft, which means a team may reach for a prospect to address that need. I think that's a bad idea with this group. Let's look at Cole Kmet from Notre Dame. He displayed his pass-catching skills. He hauled in 43 receptions for 515 yards and 6 touchdowns. Those numbers may help him draw interest in the first round, which is a mistake if those clubs expect early production. And before the season, Kmet logged 17 catches for 176 yards in 13 games. I think he may have benefited from another year in college, but because of his limited experience and production in a prominent role, he would have high bust potential as a first rounder.
I think for tight ends, like, look at it, like Kelsey, Kittle, and Ertz, none of them were high picks.
No.
Like,
And Andrews.
yeah, and Mark Andrews. You got to develop them.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a year or two. Like, Kelsey wasn't the best tight end right away. I think he came about in his second or third year. Same with George Kittle. So I think you got to develop these tight ends, and I think it's worth taking a risk third or fourth round. But like taking Noah Fant and T.J. Hawkinson, like top 20 picks, like it just hasn't paid off. I mean, Fant and Hawkinson had their moments, but can they really be these George Kittle, Travis?
No.
It's too early to tell, but I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, when it comes to drafting tight ends, I think instead of drafting based off who are the top talents, you have to draft off who works well in your scheme.
Yeah.
Kelsey works perfect in the Chiefs scheme.
Yep.
Kittle in the Niners. All these guys like Andrews and Evan Ingram. They all work in the schemes that they're in. I think instead of drafting just the overall best tight ends in the class, you have to draft who matches your scheme the best. And the problem is, I just don't think recently drafting early pick tight ends has worked out. And I think you look, and there are a lot of other good tight ends in this draft class. I mean, Jared Pinkney, Bryson Hopkins, and Albert Okwuegbunam. And I think they're all better than Kmet. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't draft Kmet really very high unless you can get him in maybe the third or fourth round.
Yeah, I think third or fourth round is a great place for him to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and let's look at Aaron Rodgers real quick. You know, he obviously lose to the Niners. You got to look down the road. We got to look at his legacy right now. You have one Super Bowl. Where would you put him in that greatest of all time conversation?
So he's 1-3 in NFC championships. All right, so he's like 1-3 is not. I mean, it's not a good record. Like Breeze is 1-2, Rodgers is 1-3, right? So he's been to more than Drew Brees. Obviously, he has a worse record, but I think it's also like for him. I think he's borderline top 10 all time. Because he does have that Super Bowl, and he did again one of that greatest runs. Like how many 6 seeds have won the Super Bowl? I think it's 4, and like 3 of them were literally like 80s prior. So he pulled off one of the greatest Super Bowl runs we've ever seen. Right? We were just talking about that. But people don't remember it like that. I think, and like people remembering how Charles Woodson came about for this team and all that stuff, and brought them on the defensive side of the ball. And like how, but the thing, and like also Rodgers' only NFC Championship win was against Caleb Haney and Jay Cutler. So I think he's borderline top 10, but I mean like his Super Bowl win is closing.
So Rodgers is by no means a playoff choker, or he's like void of signature moments in January or February.
But he is.
But Rodgers is going to retire as the third most accomplished quarterback in Packers history.
So see that's the thing. I think for Packers fans, I think he's the second best. I think he's above Bart Starr, and I think he's right behind Brett Favre. I think he's right behind because maybe if he gets
though.
Yeah, I think maybe if he gets one more MVP, which is still it's not out of the question. I think he can still get one more.
I think it is out of the question. I think there's no way Rodgers wins another MVP with the young quarterbacks in this league.
I know what you're saying.
The Packers are
moving young, but like you never know if he pulls out one historic like Brady did, right? Maybe it was like everyone was everyone was injured, stuff like that. So I can't rule it out, but I agree. It's
Okay,
like
but
a really
even
low
then,
chance.
how can he be considered a top shelf NFL legend if he's not the best quarterback in his team's history?
That's why I'm saying borderline. That's why I'm putting Favre over Rodgers.
Well, because I mean that team really has had 2 top tier NFL quarterbacks.
It's one of the
all time.
best teams. It's one of the best teams in NFL history. Like I'd put it top 4 maybe. So I think Favre is 7th all time. Like I had a list a few weeks ago that I came up with, but I think Rodgers is like 9 or 10. I think he's borderline. Maybe one more accomplishment, like major accomplishment, will get him over the like 9 or 10 hump. But I think right now there are some cause for concerns. But like, I mean, their defense is young, but it's like Rodgers did have kind of a down year, though he didn't turn the ball over. But again, he had a lot of throwaways. So we'll see next year, what he does. But I think under Matt LaFleur or whatever, I don't know if they're gonna do that well with him. I don't trust him.
Yeah, and I think the problem with Rodgers is he's at a time where there have been a ton of great quarterbacks in his time in the NFL. I mean, he's had to compete with Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees, and there's no way you can put him over those three
exactly
in the conversation. I don't think we're missing someone who's above him, but he's had a lot of great quarterbacks during his time.
Yeah.
And I think the Packers, I think the Packers are on a downward trend.
Yeah.
They've got
I
a lot
like
of
their defense.
I like their defense too, but they don't have a ton of offensive weapons. A lot of their good players are getting older. Rodgers is already
we keep hearing the same thing. We keep hearing the same thing. Rodgers needs more playmakers. He needs more this. He needs more that. Well, they got Aaron Jones. They have Devontae Adams, but
you cannot only have a running back and a wide receiver. You gotta have
coaching staff needs some. I think Bulaga's leaving also. I think Bulaga wants to, so I think he was saying he's unhappy there. So his future's a little bit murky, but I think there's still time for him to rewrite the story after this loss. I think there's still time for him to add to his resume.
And that'll do it for this week's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on anything we said so far. Other than that, we'll see you next time.